So what do you think of the fly, baby?
Awesome.
Yeah. Can you hold it up so I can see it? Make sure it's in the frame good. What's it called?
Big hairy animal.
So this is the big hairy animal. So today we're gonna tie
A big hairy animal.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, Thomas. We are tying the big hairy animal. And the big hairy animal is a big bass fly. But there's a lot of transitions. It can be a great redfish fly, a great snook fly, a great trout fly. Just use it for whatever you need it to. Vary up whatever your colors are. If you're going to throw it in salt water, my honest suggestion is to change it for an SC15. This is a size 1 B10S, so you're probably going to need to go at least 3 out. Now, that being said, if you want to, this also translates well for using it weedlessly. You'll just tie in your weed guard after you tie in your Zonker strips. You guys are going to have to excuse me. My voice isn't what it should be. Got a little bit of a cold. Life carries on. So, let's sit back, relax, grab a cup of beverage of some sort. Let's get time. Alright guys, today we're going to tie the big hairy animal. We're going to start with a size 1 Gamakatsu B10S hook. And we're going to start with a thread wrap of the normal clear nylon that we normally use. And I got some questions the other day asking why I use the clear nylon. And really there are two reasons. The first one is that one, I only have to have one kind of thread around the house. And the other reason is that it's a smaller thread, so as a result I'm able to make more thread wraps, and I think that helps me hold things a little more securely. Now, the big hairy animal is a double bunny style of fly. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab up a couple Zonker strips. I'm going to pull off just a little bit of that initial part. Turn around. Right, like that. There we are. And I'm going to tie this part right on down. Now, some people, in order to keep the double bunny where they want it, what they do is they'll take a little bit of nylon, like Mason's hard nylon, and put it right back there, and that keeps everything posted up. I've never really felt like I had to do it, but if you're having trouble with your hook fouling, that's a good way to go. Alright, so now we're going to measure up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the other Zonker strip underneath it and kind of get a feel for it. So let's measure this out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it underneath here. And if you've got two strips that are one's longer than the other one, the longer strip needs to go on the bottom, because you're going to have to end up sacrificing a little bit of it. So I'm going to take my thread up a ways, and I'm going to poke this through. I'm going to try to center it up as best I can. Hopefully lose as little of it as possible. Alright, now we're centered. Push through. Okay. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the fly out of the vise. And push it right on through. Boom, there we are. Alright, and I'm going to bring it up to meet the other one. At this point, I'm going to take the two strips, I'm going to bring them back over, put them back in the vise. Ooh. Make sure we're all leveled out. There we are. Alright. I think I've got everything back in the vise. Just like so. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to come up here, and to get everybody in order, a little bit of spit goes a long way. Just helps pull all those fibers back where you want them. Just remember, you've got a tendency to twist with all this. So there we are. So there's my two bunny strips together. Now, they're both pretty lengthy. So what I'm going to do is, to keep everybody in order, I'm just going to come up with my fingers, that you moisten with saliva. In other words, you lick your fingers and you pull everything up one way. You grab the other fly, the other Zonker Strip, and you go down the other way. There we go. Boom. Now, the way I'm going to keep these two together is I'm going to use 3M super glue gel. Now it's important that you use the gel and not the liquid. If you use the liquid, it's like it chemically burns that leather. So I'm going to place a little drop here. You know what? To make this a little bit easier, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up. I'm just going to do a loose thread wrap over the top of it, just to get it out of the way. Now remember, your super glue sets in about 15 seconds. So, ounce prevention right here at this point is worth a pound to cure. So I'm going to put a little drop here. Trust me, it only takes just a little tiny drop. Alright. Now I'm going to undo those loose thread wraps. Alright. This bit, let's get everybody in order. We don't want to trap any fibers up in the super glue. You want these to come together just like so. 1, 2, 3. Once they've met, press it down. Just like so. Try to keep it as clean as you can. It's not going to be perfect. Alright, you want to hold it down for just a few seconds while this is setting. So let's take about 15 seconds. All this to set up and be done, which isn't bad. Alright. That came out pretty good, not too bad. Not too bad. I got a couple trapped fibers here and there, but nothing too bad. And notice I put just dots. I didn't go full line, and the reason I do a full line is because wherever that super glue is, it's going to be really stiff. So we can go back in, trim that out, do whatever we want to later. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal at all. Now, for the rest of the fly, I'm going to take some EP sparkle brush in golden orange. Right. Tie this in right up here. Come on down. Now be careful when you're doing that super glue, because when it says bonds instantly to skin, they're not joking. And it can mess up your fly. Real pain in the butt. And what I found that I like to do with this is grab it in my hackle pliers, and I want to do nice, loose wraps. And the reason I want to do loose wraps is because I'm not really that interested in adding bulk with it. And the other reason probably the most simplistic, is that it has a tendency to hold air. And I like the way the double bunny looks in the water, but the get you downer about it is that it, even though it looks really great in the water, it has a bad habit of holding water and can be really tough to cast. If you're not careful, it'll cast like a wet sock. So we want to try to do everything we can in the pattern to try to lessen the amount of water that it's going to hold. And just kind of come down through here. This is just a little brush. Nothing special. Alright, now come on forward. Beautiful. Alright, that's nice. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a clump of yellow bucktail. How much or how little is up to you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin it around on it. A couple of loose wraps so that I can adjust all the fibers just where I want them. Now here's a neat thing. Right now I've got a good amount of that yellow, but I don't have to. I can pull some out like it is right here until I get the final look that I'm going for. Because really the only flash in this pattern that I'm putting in is in that collar of EP brush. So I want it fairly sparse. I can kind of move it around now. Now once I got it where I want it, I'll just tighten down. We're good to go. Alright, I'm going to trim off my excess. And I'm going to come forward all the way to the end of the hook eye. Alright, good. Now let's comb it out, make sure we're going the way we want. I think this is coming together very nicely. Alrighty then. Now for the top of my fly, I'm going to use olive EP fiber. Just going to kind of go, let it spin itself around a little bit. Alright. And I'm going to match it on the bottom with a little bit of tan EP fiber. Notice I'm using a fairly long little strip. And the reason is, whenever we come back over it, spread that down. There we go. We'll do the same thing again for the tan. Spread it over it. Cinch it down. We want to make sure that it's getting good coverage on both sides, and it is. Alright. So far, so good. Alright, we're going to repeat this step again. This time coming a little bit further up. Now with 10. Flip it on over, and look, when I bring it over, I want to make sure that I'm pushing it down like this, so it's spreading it out. I'm going to spread the love. Alright, we're going to do the same thing with the tan again on the bottom. Spread it out, spread that love. There you go, come on forward. Alright, so we're building a little bit of a bump. It's fine. Keep coming. Alright, now that we're kind of come past that length point, what I want to do now is I want to worry about trying to thicken it up some. So come on up. Little bit by little bit. Same thing on the bottom again. Now if you're watching, you might think, well man, he could have done this with a ton of different kinds of dubbings, like the ice dubs or all that, and you're right, you can. But the reason I use this EP fiber was about availability when I came up with this fly. You know, I'm the kind of guy that I want to be able to see what I'm ordering, feel it, touch it, and I couldn't do that down here. There's not a place that sells those kinds of dubbing. The Senyo's laser dubbing was the one I was most interested in, and still am. But there's just not a place around here that sells it, unfortunately. So I learned how to use the EP fiber for this pattern. And the good thing about the EP fiber is it's available and I can trim it up. So right now what I'm going to come around and do, bring this up forward. So now let me say this is an easy pattern to tie weedless, and I suggest if you're going to be fishing it down here that you do so. You don't have to, but it certainly does help. And we're going to do the same thing on the bottom. Push it around. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place our eye right here, okay? And I'm going to show you what I do to make our eyes. I don't generally buy like prism eyes or whatever. Here's what I do. I get the stick-on eyes. You can buy just about anywhere, and then I'm going to take them and I'm going to cut off 2 of them out of the pack. I'm going to put some Loon on there. I'm going to UV cure it, and then I'm going to stick them on. So give me a minute and I'm going to make some eyes. I'm going to show you how they come out. Okay, so we're done looning them up, and now we're just flat eyes are now 3D eyes. Now, I'm not saying that you can't buy more realistic eyes at the fly shop. You 110% can. However, you cannot do it as economically. Because when you make your own eyes, you save a pile of money. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my eyes right here, and I'm going to use the Loon UV Cure. Now, could you do it with just super glue? Yes, you can. Why use the UV Cure? Well, two reasons. The first one is it gives me room for correction. If something goes wrong, if I'm not completely happy with the way something is, I can correct it. Secondly, it helps build the shape of my fly, because we're still going to trim this out to give it more than just a wet mop look. Alright, so that's one eye. And once we've got the other one positioned, because I've still got a little bit of play in it, I'm going to go over the front of it, and I'm going to bridge the two. Now, why bridge the two? Two reasons. One, I want to make it more weedless if I had to throw it in something. Two, it just gives it a better look in my opinion. Alright. Now for the second eye. Make sure they're lined up fairly well. It looks like they are, in fact. And once I'm relatively certain they're where I want them, I am going to cure it. Now, if they're not 100% perfect, it's not a big deal. I promise you, the fish don't care. So now that I've got it where I want it, I'm going to bring it together up top. And that's how I'm going to cure it in. I'm using the UV resin to help me shape my fly. Alright. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side now. Come around to it. So now that I've got my eyes on there, next thing I'm going to do is give it a little bit of a trim. And one of my favorite things about EP fiber is that it just lets you shape it. So it allows for oopsie doos. Things didn't quite come out as well as we might have wanted. And if you want to, bring it up like this, like a crest. Just kind of trim down. Wonderful. We're going to do the same thing on each side. It's coming together very nicely. Alright. Okay. Now that we've roughly got the shape we want, gives us that nice look. I'm going to come back over it one more time, right up here in the front. Really, the UV resin. Do its work. So, with a higher look of it today, like that. I'll cure it in. And that's what I've ended up with. Is that exact look. Nine times out of 10, I end up just UV curing it where it is. Because right now it's been UV'd in, it's not going anywhere. Probably better than any knot that I could tie or anybody else could. So now, come down here into the bottom of it. Do the same thing again that I did with the top. Just a little bit. Boom. And squeeze it out just a hair. What I like about the UV is that if you do it in doses, it really lets you shape things the way you want it. Boom. Just take it off the vise, do a little bit extra trimming here and there, and that's it. If you like, you can take a little bit of a brown marker and go over it, and just go light, I think. And that's it, the big hairy animal. Hope you guys enjoyed. Alright, you ready? Alright, go.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.
And I guess we'll see them on the water, won't we? Yeah. You ready to tie up another one?
Yes, sir.